Hello and welcome to Glory Be, interesting people and how they pray.
Each week we chat with interesting people about their lives, their work, and how they pray. I'm Sharon Hannish.
And I'm Mike Malcolm. Our guest today is Deacon Alan Mikell. Deacon Alan was ordained to the permanent diaconate in 1996 and serves as a deacon at St. Bernard of Clairvaux Catholic Church in Tulsa. He grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and holds a Bachelor of Science in Petroleum Engineering from Louisiana State University. He is currently the Director of Prison Ministry for the Diocese of Tulsa and Eastern Oklahoma and is very involved with Kairos Prison Ministry. Over the years, he has served on many boards, including Bishop Kelley High School, Palmer Drug Abuse Program, and the Diocesan Diaconate Council. He has been married to his wife Ginger for 50 years. They have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
We go way back.
We do.
We know each other a long time. And so back when your kids were just little.
You know, I think Deb was the babysitter when I entered the diaconate formation program. Mm-hmm. And I think I may have known her before I knew you.
Probably. Yeah, my wife worked at summer camp forever, and then she took care of, it was probably, 3 or 4 children?
Yeah, something like that.
And, she took your daughters to Bell's, I remember.
Amusement park, yeah.
And I can tell a story, because they were looking for, this is the time, looking for cute guys, except they were using the term schwingy, because that was a Saturday Night Live thing. So I'll thoroughly embarrass Courtney.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'll thoroughly embarrass your daughter. So tell me about the diaconate ministry in the Diocese of Tulsa. What attracted you to that?
I had a life-changing experience on a Cursillo weekend.
Yeah?
1992, Ginger asked me if I would go on a Cursillo weekend as a Valentine's gift to her. And, of course, I didn't know what Cursillo was, couldn't even spell it, quite honestly. But anyway, long story short, I did. And it changed my life. And so after the Cursillo weekend, she waited a couple of months. She said, what about a marriage encounter weekend? So we went on a marriage encounter weekend. And then by the end of the year, I had been asked before if I'd ever thought about it, and I emphatically said no. I've never even considered it. But after all of that, it started to appeal to me, and I entered the program at the end of 1992.
Okay.
So
did you grow up Catholic?
No.
Okay.
I'm a convert. I grew up in the Methodist Church in Baton Rouge. I've always been on the wrong side of the aisle because down there everybody was Catholic, and I was a Methodist kid, and we come up here, I've converted to Catholicism, and now everybody's Methodist, so I've always been on the wrong side as far as the denomination and how many there were in any given place. But, yeah, I was a convert. I converted to Catholicism in 1975.
Wow.
What drew you to the Catholic faith?
You know, this is going to sound very not very spiritual, but this is the truth. We were transferred to Laurel, Mississippi, which there was a Catholic church, so about 20 by 20, small Catholic church, Irish priest. Ginger and I were the only young couple. We walked out at Mass one Saturday evening, and he stopped us, and he wanted to know who we were and where we were from, all that stuff. Got to know him, and in the context of getting to know him, I asked him, I said, Father, I need a book. I said, I need something I can read so I'll know what's going on. I said, you Catholics are always standing and sitting and kneeling and all that. I said, I need something so I'll know what's going on. Yeah, I got a book. He gives me the book, and he said, now, if you're going to read the book, he said, you'll have some questions. So he said, let's just start getting together. So we did. And Ginger went with me, and she put no pressure on me whatsoever to become a Catholic. That was part of the courtship. We'd already gone through all that. But anyway, over the course of those sessions, I decided, God put it on my heart that this is the truth, and I got to make a choice. And so as fate would have it, I get transferred. And so I go to Father, said, Father, I'm leaving. I've got to go to Mobile, Alabama, the day after Labor Day. And I said, I've decided I want to join the church, but I want to do it here. He said, no. He said, you go to Mobile. There are a lot of Catholics down there. I said, no, I want to do it here. I want to do it with you. So Labor Day 1975, the Saturday before Labor Day of 1975, we spent most of the day finishing that book. Mm-hmm. He would not let me join the church without finishing the book. Brought me into the church on Labor Day of 1975. Had a Mass just for me.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so that's how I became a Catholic. Yeah. And, we left that next morning, and I have never seen him or talked to him since.
Yeah.
So, but
what a gift.
I'll always remember him. Yeah, I'll always remember him. It was a gift. It was really a gift.
So were you always a person of faith? Like, were you active? Okay, active in the Methodist
Church? We went to church. We went to church all the time. Yeah, I had Sunday school and all that. I was always a person of faith, a Christian, but never thought I would be a Catholic, much less a deacon in the Catholic Church.
Yeah, that's just crazy. Because you grew up Methodist. You go to Louisiana State University.
Yes.
Are you an LSU fan?
I certainly am.
So are you a Sooner fan also? You have a grandson who's about
I have a grandson that's about to go there, and I'm giving him a considerable amount of grief about that. but I will be able to accept that if that's what he decides he's going to do. It will be nice to be in the same conference and have some things to talk about over the next few years.
That's a good way to look at it. So exactly. You go to LSU and you get a degree in petroleum engineering. You don't get a degree in theology or anything.
No. Oh no.
And you work for talk about you're married. Do you get married right out of college?
We graduated in May of 1973. 2 weeks later, on June 2nd, we were married. 2 weeks later, after a honeymoon, we moved to Lafayette, Louisiana, and have never lived in Baton Rouge since. So, within a 4-week period, we graduated, were married, and we were gone.
That's a lot of change.
It was a lot of change, yeah.
And you work as a petroleum engineer?
Worked as a petroleum engineer for a major oil company, and we started in Lafayette, Louisiana, went to Laurel, Mississippi, then Mobile, Alabama, then back to New Orleans for a 2-year stint, and then that's when we came to Tulsa, 1978. Yeah.
Okay, and you worked there you've been in Tulsa ever since. Been in Tulsa
since December of 1978. Pearl Harbor Day in 1978, we moved to Tulsa.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm curious about your life as a deacon. What was it about the permanent diaconate that you said, I fit that?
Well, I don't know that I really thought I fit it. If you would ask Sister Maria Monda if you could, I went through the formation program, and we got right up to the end, and I was still discerning. I really was apprehensive about it, and I was apprehensive not because I was not interested or didn't want to do the work associated with it or any of that. It was the liturgical part of it that I was a little skittish about, But finally, Sister Maria Monda came to me one day. She said, Alan, I'm ordering invitations. Do you need any? I said, give me a couple more days, sister. Yeah. And so I decided, I think God's calling me to do this, and I just have to do it. I need to do it. So, and I've loved it. It's been, after my marriage, it's been the greatest gift of my life, quite honestly. Yeah.
What are the duties of a deacon?
All of us have different duties. Each one of us has a different assignment, different place, different pastors who use deacons in different ways. I've always been at St. Bernard's. That was our home parish. Our kids grew up there, and that's where we wanted to be, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to stay there. My ministry started out, I was really heavily involved in the RCI program at St. Bernard's, then got involved in the confirmation program at St. Bernard's. I've taught a scripture class on Sunday morning. Actually inherited that from another deacon that was already ordained before I was even ordained. So I've been doing that a long time. And so mine has been more on the catechesis side than anything else.
And you preach occasionally on a
Sunday?
Sunday?
We preach, again, depending on the pastor, we preach once a month. Now we have preached more than that sometimes in the past, but... so
you never were an employee of
No,
St.
I've never been on the staff anywhere as a deacon.
You've always just been an engineer and then also done, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And is that the norm for most deacons? Deacon Rich worked here, but he kind of finished his career and then came on staff.
Yeah.
Do deacons get paid?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, so it's a ministry of service.
Ministry of service, that's what we're ordained to do. That's diaconia, that's what it means. It's to serve. That's our calling, is to be ministers of service.
And then, so you have this extra assignment. Did it come from the diocese? You're the director of prison ministry.
Yeah,
How
it did.
did that come about?
Well, I got involved in the prison ministry in 2015, and one of my brother deacons, Kenny Longbreak, Kenny was the director of the prison ministry and had some health problems, some pretty serious health problems during the COVID period. And his health just got to the point where he didn't think he could continue doing it. And I was his assistant at the time, so I stepped up and took it from him when he decided to retire. So that's how I got involved. I actually got involved in the Kairos Prison Ministry, which is an ecumenical prison ministry all over the world. And I originally heard about Kairos from Cursillo, because one of the guys Kairos comes from Cursillo. Yeah. And one of the guys that I had worked several Cursillo weekends with had decided, he said, I'm leaving Cursillo, I'm going to Kairos. I said, well, what is that? Yeah. He said, well, it's in the prison. I said, have a good day.
Yeah.
And so that's how I first heard about it, but I didn't get involved in it until 2015, and that's when I started going to Kairos, working in the Kairos prison.
What does the diocese do in different prisons? What's prison ministry look like?
Well, prison ministry looks like this. We just had the opportunity to do something with the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City. We had the first 4-day Catholic retreat in Oklahoma history in the prison out in Hinton, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So that's just getting started, but prison ministry out of Texas contacted the Archdiocese and wanted to know if they'd be interested in trying to do something. And my counterpart in Oklahoma City called me and he said, hey, do you have some guys that could help us do this that had worked in Kairos? And I said, yeah, we got some guys in Kairos. So that's how it came about, but we're looking to do another one in that prison in November, and then we're trying to find a prison in the east side of the state that we can do one in the Diocese of Tulsa. But Bishop Condell has been very supportive of that and what we may or may not be able to do with it. But Kairos is ecumenical. Men or women, depending on men's prison or women's prison, come together, all denominations of Christian faith, and we go into a prison for 4 days, and one of the rules for us as a group is that we only talk about things that we all share a common belief. So there are no altar calls, there's no real presence of Christ in the Eucharist, there's no baptismal rites or any of that kind of stuff. We don't go there, but mainline Christian ideas, practices, we talk. And there's 42 inmates on a weekend, and about usually 40 guys, something like that, go in on the team. Wow. And it's pretty incredible, really, what happens. Really
do the retreatants step forward and say, I'd like to do that retreat?
Well, yes and no.
Yeah.
The retreatants, if they're interested in it, they apply to their chaplain. They're in-house chaplain at the prison, and then the chaplain chooses the 42 that are going to go on the weekend.
Okay.
So it's a very profound weekend for those guys and for the team.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, does it take place within the walls of that prison?
Okay. Oh, absolutely. We right now there are two prisons on the east side. Well, actually, one prison on the east side, male prison. That's Dick Connor up in Hominy, and then Mabel Bassett down in Stroud is a women's prison, the largest women's prison, and they have women's weekends down there. April, we've got a men's weekend at Dick Connor's. We've got a women's weekend at Mabel Bassett. And then we've got another men's weekend down at Joseph Hart, which is south of Oklahoma City, or down at Lexington. So we've got 3 going on in the month of April.
All Kairos.
All Kairos. All different teams. The same team doesn't go into multiple prisons. Each prison has its own team that's been put together by volunteers that wanted to be part of it. And
you go in.
Yeah. Yeah, you go in on a Thursday evening. And that's kind of the introduction. Everybody kind of gets to know each other. The inmates, depending on the institution, have to be out before their final call on the night. They've got to be back to their cells before that. So we're usually out of there by 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then we're at the prison gate the next morning at 6 or 6:30. And we'll go in, and we won't get out of there until 8 or 9 o'clock that night.
Now, what kind of I was telling Mike or somebody ahead of time that John, my husband, had thought about, it says, when did you see me, when you, so he signed up and went to the prisons, I think, one time.
Did
and he described it as, and he's 6'3", he's a big guy, and he went in and he said, you went through one door and it closed behind him, and it goes through. And I mean, it was a scary experience for him. Yes.
Yeah,
so.
It's a scary experience for a lot of people. Not everybody is willing to even try it, and I understand that. I understand that, but
you weren't scared.
No, and I tell you, once you get to know those guys, or the ladies for that matter, but once you get to know the guys. Most of them never had a chance. If you hear their story, most of them never had a chance. Their fate was cast from the time they were conceived by whoever until the day they went to prison. It's just it's a sad story.
Are some of them that come, are they in for life?
Oh yeah, yeah. And most of them are in not for the first time, not for the first time. They may have been in 3 or 4 times. They may have been in 30 years in different states or different places. Everybody has a story. Every one of them has a different story, and it's interesting to spend time with them and just listen. Just listen.
Are you a prison chaplain?
No.
As well? So you mentioned in-house
no affiliation with the prison at all, other than as a volunteer.
Okay.
You've got to go through a process to become a volunteer. You've got to have a badge to get into the prison. That's what I was going to
ask. So if some of our listeners are like, I might really like to try that, is there a link that we could put in our show notes, or how?
Yeah, I can give you a link.
Okay.
I can send you a link that they can apply, or they can call me, or send me an email to the diocese, and I'll get it. I just met with a gentleman day before yesterday in Bartlesville that's about to start.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've got people doing that from time to time. Yeah.
Well,
we would love to have some volunteers.
Yeah, and Courtney mentioned before. Well, we need to get to how you pray, but. Courtney mentioned that sometimes you need cookies for these retreats and things like that. I mean, I think
we always need cookies. Yeah. Kairos, the hook, if you will, for the prisoners with Kairos is the cookies, because we take in about 60,000 cookies to each weekend, and every inmate in the institution, every administrator, every correctional officer, medical, whatever, gets a dozen cookies on Friday and a dozen cookies on Saturday. So they know when we're coming, they're going to get some cookies, even though they're not participating in the weekend. So the cookies are a big deal.
I mean, we can put some kind of information about that too.
I've got
people.
I can give you a complete encyclopedia of Kairos Prison Ministry, and Courtney can help you because Courtney's gone down this path as well. So
okay, good. Yeah, Courtney, for those who don't know what we're talking about, she's our coworker, but she's Deacon Alan's daughter.
That's right.
So,
and she was getting ready to start a prison ministry.
She was going
in the
into
parish.
Mabel Bassett. Yeah, she was going into Mabel Bassett, and COVID
hit, and it all
shut the whole
shut
thing
down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, whenever I think of Kairos retreats, I think of cookies.
Yeah,
because cookies are a commodity. That's important.
They are.
Well, let's talk. You're definitely an interesting man, but you're also a man of prayer. I assume.
I'm a man of prayer.
Kind of comes with the role of being a deacon.
Yes.
So how has your prayer life changed over the years? Certainly growing up as a Methodist young man.
Yeah, growing up as a Methodist young man, we didn't have a library of rote prayers that we prayed like I was introduced to in the Catholic faith. So for me, the Lord's Prayer, John 3:16, and the Glory Be.
Yep.
That was pretty much it for me. I didn't even know the Apostle. I did know the Apostles' Creed by the time I became Catholic because I learned that in high school as a Methodist. But so for me, growing up, it was just extemporaneous prayer. When I became Catholic, that's what I was used to. So that was kind of a little bit unique because most of the guys were a little apprehensive about that. But my prayer life has changed dramatically over the years, as you can well imagine, certainly with the ordination and the vow to pray the Liturgy of the Hours and all of that opened up a whole new path for me, which I dearly love. The Liturgy of the Hours is really the center of my prayer life, quite frankly. I think even if I were not a deacon and had been taught how to do that at an earlier age, I would have enjoyed doing it. And that's part of the engineer, I think, coming out in me. But anyway, over the years, besides the daily office, I've picked up some of these rote prayers along the way, and I'm still adding to that library. But I love some of the litanies. I love to pray some of the litanies. That is so unique for me. And over the years, I've just kind of added some litanies to my repertoire, if you will.
Do you have a favorite one that you've been praying lately?
I pray the litany to the precious blood every day. I pray that one every day. And there's some others that I also pray that I really like. The Anima Christi, I pray that every day. I love that. We use that in Mass now at St. Bernard's, and that really speaks to me.
We can put links to those two prayers.
Well, let's put the prayer in. Yeah. It's got a nice cadence.
Yeah, it does have a nice cadence. And then I have one that my spiritual director gave me that was written by Thomas Merton, and I thought this was something relatively new. As it turns out, after I started praying this and talking about it a little bit, a parishioner gave me one of Father White's cards when he was pastor at St. Bernard's, and on the back of it was this prayer by Thomas Merton.
Wow.
But it starts out like, "Dear Lord God, I have no idea where I am going.
Yes.
And not even sure that I'm going to know when I get to the right place." I want to be there, God, but I don't really know what you have in store for me. And that really speaks to me because there's so many different opportunities to do things, but what does God really want me to do? It's not what I want to do, but what does God really want me to do? So I pray that prayer every day, sometimes more than once a day, but that prayer really speaks to me. And it's just really based on three things. Number one is I believe. Number two is I hope. And number three is I trust.
Nice.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice. And it's not long. It's a real easy prayer to pray. Now, one thing I don't do anymore, I don't memorize anything anymore, right? Because I'm too old to memorize. So I always have mine on little sheets of paper, but
It's funny you mentioned that prayer because that's what I'm doing for Lent. I wake up in the morning and
pray that prayer.
The Merton prayer?
The Merton prayer.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great prayer.
I've too known it since back in college. The priest had it hanging on his, 35 years ago. But for whatever reason,
I like his,
chose that.
I've read some of his books and stuff,
Yeah.
but I had never seen that prayer. So it was fresh material to me
And-
when I saw it.
I don't know anybody who would not say that prayer resonates with
Yeah.
me.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah.
been there
Yeah,
at
we've
some
all
point in
been
my
there.
life,
Sure.
or
We've all
several
been
points.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Multiple times.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, do you have a favorite go-to prayer? You have 60 seconds before you have to start your car and drive off to the next thing. What do you pray?
I probably would be praying the Divine Mercy Chaplet because my rosary time and my Divine Mercy Chaplet time are usually in the car.
Yeah.
That's when I pray the rosary and pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet. Rosary always first, but the Divine Mercy Chaplet. So if I was down to the last minute, I'd probably be somewhere in the middle of the
pray
Divine
quick.
Mercy Chaplet. Yeah.
You know, you just sound like such a person of prayer. I mean, has there been a time in your life when it's been difficult to pray?
Yeah, there has been, and this will make me a little more interesting. Probably, a lot of people know this. Some people don't. But I spent 2 years in a federal penitentiary back in 2010, 2012. Those 2 years, and I've told this a bunch of times to a lot of different people. I'm going to reverse it a little bit on you. I've never felt further from the church than I did when I was in that prison.
Okay.
But I've never felt any closer to God than I did when I was in that prison. And so I was away from the church. There was no church there to worship in, but there was a lot of time that I filled with prayer because I couldn't be in the church. So that was a real pivotal time in my life in terms of my prayer life because it really gave me an opportunity to focus on that. So it's kind of backwards. I was away from the church, but close to the
Now,
Lord.
could anybody have brought you the Eucharist? Like, are you allowed to do it? None of that?
We had a chaplain there. This is what probably made it most difficult for me. We had a chaplain there who was actually a Catholic priest, but he made it very clear that he was a correctional officer first and a priest second, which, after being ordained, that's a little hard to understand. But if he came in, our allotted time was noon on Saturday. That was our time for Catholic worship if he came. So if he came, he had a Mass, and we could receive communion, but that was maybe once a month or something like that. Yeah. So it wasn't very often. It wasn't very often. Received ashes one time on Ash Wednesday. But other than that.
Are you as a deacon allowed to go in and do any of that now? Could you go distribute ashes?
I go to Hominy, Dick Connors in Hominy every Friday, most Fridays, and we do a communion service there. I can do a communion service. Or I took them ashes on Ash Wednesday and that kind of thing. Yeah. It's difficult sometimes for a priest to have enough time to be willing, allocate some time to doing that. But we're working on that. We're getting better. We got some good priests that are willing to help. It's just getting them in the right place at the right time and getting them badged and keeping the badge. It's a bureaucracy to say the least. But you've got to deal with that. That's just the way it is.
Did that experience make you want to be involved in prison ministry, or were
Probably.
You? Okay.
It gave me some. It gave me some sense of perhaps why I went through what I had to go through. And I will always be indebted to Bishop Slattery because he, from the very beginning of the whole process, he stood by me and he told me, he said, I will stand by you until it's resolved and we see what happens. And so that was a gift that he gave me that he didn't have to give me, and I will always be appreciative of that. And to Bishop Collier too, because he knows the story too. So anyway, it has something to do with it. I'm sure it gives meaning to what I'm doing now because I've been where those guys are. Now mine was nothing like what they're doing, but still, been on that side. Been on that side.
Well, you have a lot that you pray for. And if you could invite everybody who's a Glory Be podcast listener to join you in a prayer intention, what would that be?
I guess with what we have coming up in the prison ministry being such a big part of what we've talked about, I would just ask for people to be mindful of those men and women who are incarcerated. They're not all bad people. They are children of God, who some of which have done some bad things, but in an odd sort of way, they are still searching. Still searching for God. And so I would just ask people to keep them in their prayers, be mindful of them, and not to forget about those people, because they are children of God also.
Well, let's pray for them.
Yes.
And would you lead us in a Glory Be?
Yeah. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.
As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
This is excellent.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So
Thanks
I
for
think
having
this
me.
is episode number 117.
Wow.
Thank you for doing it.
Thank you so much. Your Louisiana accent. You said father.
Yeah, we've got a lot of Louisianans on in the past recent time.
Have you really?
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Glory Be is a production of the Office of Communications at the Church of St. Mary in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm your producer, Mike Malcolm. See you next time.